Hello everyone, how's it going? Thank you for having me. The last time I spoke here, we're trying to figure out, I think it was 2011, 2010, something like that. So my journey, first I should give you a little caveats. I really overdid it with the gifts, so I apologize everyone if you have any seizures. Also, I will not be showing any ads today. The last time I was here, I showed probably 15 minutes of films and commercials. So that means I need to fill a space with my voice. Also, it sounds like Richmond parties hard because right outside of my Airbnb, there was rocking music and I didn't sleep that much, so please excuse a little bit of spaciness this morning. So let's start. I'm curious, how many of you guys in this room have desires and passions for outside careers and side hustles? Raise your hand and let me see. Okay, that's a fair amount of you. How many visual artists in the room? Okay, filmmakers, tech startups. Okay, great. Anything else? Did I miss? Photographers. Okay, great. Fashion design. Okay, great. So we're gonna go into a little bit about my journey from advertising to art. I just want to mention that my journey is not the right way, it's just one way. So anyway, it all started when I thought I was going to be an astronaut. That's me in space camp. I realized I didn't want to be a scientist, even though I was good in science, and I did not want to be an Air Force pilot. So that dream sort of went away. I worked at a comic store and really was a geek about it and engrossed about it. I actually found some comics I still have that I need to just get rid of. But I really thought I was going to go into the comic business, but like all dreams, things change. Then I worked at the coolest job in my hometown in New York. It was called Incredible Feats. In reality, it wasn't that incredible, but at the time. What was cool about it was during the heyday of Nike and Michael Jordan rising to the top. So it started to plant the seed of advertising and how hype can sell. But first I went into the music business, or I was thinking I was going into the music business. I did 2 summer internships at EMI and Epic Records. My claim to fame is I helped work on the most expensive music video of all time, which was Scream, which I think was $5 million. And I delivered the rough cut to Jermaine Jackson. But I found the music business not that creative. Unless you were actually making the music in the creative departments, it just didn't do anything for me. So I went to undergrad at University of Florida. There I became the Nike college rep. I think they still do this on most campuses, but basically I would host fun runs, I would give out Nike merch, host like Olympics type activities. That was fun, and I started to get into really focus on advertising because it combined a lot of our interests, from music to film. So I created a portfolio to get into this school, and I so wish I found the portfolio to show you because it was so bad. I'm sure you guys applied and with a much more evolved book, but mine was horrible. So I got to Richmond. I found some old photos, not a lot, when I was at Ad Center. I wanted to take a year off and travel, but I was told I wouldn't be guaranteed entrance the next year. So I ended up taking the invite, and I'm so glad I did. So just a little tidbits of my time at Ad Center. I was one of the worst students that opening semester. But my parents' divorce at the time was a great motivating factor. And by the end of my 2 years at Ad Center, I was one of the better students. A little fun fact, I overslept my portfolio review, the final portfolio review. But I got a jail card because I was helping everyone in the computer lab all night. So after I graduated, I went backpacking around the world. And it started in Europe. And I interviewed in London first. And it was a very interesting experience back then. I think things have changed, but the quality of work that was coming out of this school was like a mid-level creative in London. So we're walking around saying, hey, we want our first job out of school, and they're looking at us like, what the fuck, who are you guys? But we were also finding it was difficult to also get a job with the books because we had American sensibilities. And Susan Hoffman of Wieden, she took us under her wing. She was in London at the time, and it was having the same sensibility problems with the English. And she basically pulled everything out of our book that they wouldn't get. Maybe it was too sappy or emotional, and we ended up landing a job at Leagas Delaney. And it was a great job. We were working on a Nintendo and Adidas. And then one of the highlights was working on a single-page newspaper ad for Barclays Bank. Tim Delaney had us write, this is a third round of work, 100 headlines. And in front of us, he would say, this is shit, this is terrible, why did I hire you, no more Americans. But thank God for this school where you kind of learn how to be tough about critiques and criticisms. And he was definitely one of our toughest creative directors I've worked for. Unfortunately, they messed up on our visas, and we ended up getting deported from London. So as sliding doors happened to me a lot in my life, I ended up coming back home to New York and working at Fallon. It was an amazing time there. We kind of rose, like we were the hottest agency at the time in New York. And then I think we came in second in 6 pitches in a row, and then we lost a bunch of .coms, and so we became like best to worst within a year. And we went from 120 people to 40 people, and again, my life changed. Then I landed in Amsterdam, which is one of my favorite cities in the world. It's super magical. I feel probably more creative than anywhere else on this planet. And Wieden at the time there was growing, and they hired 40 people at the same time. And when you have an influx of newbies at the same time, it's a lot of fun. It's like all of you guys starting school at the same time. So you make instant friends, you're all expats, you're all relying on each other. It was a big family. I was working on Vodafone and Coke and Nike and Gore-Tex, and when my creative partner, who I met here, and we were roommates in London and New York. After a couple of years, she moved back to San Francisco, and I took it as an opportunity to switch from art direction to writing, which I still go back and forth on, depending on who my creative partner is. But the Amsterdam winters, as much as I loved the city, finally caught up with me. So I moved to Sydney. A friend from Fallon, Australian guy, started his own small agency, and he was super generous, getting me my permanent residency, which I still have. So even though I was sponsored by him, I was allowed to work at any of the other agencies. So I started at Saatchi, and I was commuting to work from where I lived in Bondi Beach to past the Opera House, and that was my commute every day. It was gorgeous. Sydney is where Amsterdam is the most creative city I felt. Sydney was the best I felt personally, most balanced. Then I started dabbling in a little directing there, and that brought me back to New York. So went to NYU's film school. I did the summer director's intensive program, which basically crams 2 years of the master's program into 5 months. You're working 7 days a week. It was pretty crazy, but amazing at the same time. The visual up there is from a sci-fi film that I shot that won Best of Show, that speaks to how people view autism. And so this went on to be used for several nonprofits for autism awareness. So I met a friend who was also in the agency business at film school. And so we had an idea to combine what we know as advertisers with our love for film into one company. At the time, which was 2009, 2010, this was a novel approach to package strategy, creative, all the way through production and post. A lot of companies didn't know what to do with us, but then a lot of brands really liked us, where we did projects for Google, Speedo, Diesel Jeans, Nike Plus, and Starbucks. We even shot a 45-minute pilot for Teach for America, which was pretty amazing. And we had the best parties in New York, for sure. We had a really good reputation because of our parties. We were always throwing pranks, and our big party was April Fool's Day every year. But with growth, we were having some growing pains. So we're now up to 10 employees. Doesn't sound like a lot. We had our first set of brand center interns. We were getting into positions where we needed to take on projects that we wouldn't normally take to pay the bills. So now I have new respect for agencies when they do that, because they are thinking of their employees and keeping the lights on. We got into amazing Hilton pitch, where it would have been this amazing race type show. And we beat out all these other production companies, and we ended up going against Radical Media, which is the big boys in the production industry. So we took a $50,000 loan out to pay for the pitch. And then Hilton said, "Oh, well, we decided we're not going to do it anyway. Thanks for your time." So Radical could cover that. We couldn't, and it was time to take on investors. And we were getting nibbles, so we probably met with 2 or 3 smaller investors, and then we were contacted out of the blue by a company called Grupo ABC. They're a South American company. They financed Pierre Odell, and they were looking for other small, hot shops that were doing different things that they could expand their network. Instead of buying bigger shops, they wanted the smaller ones that they could grow. So we, after negotiating with them for 6 months, and seriously, that 26 business plans revisions, it's probably more than that. I can't really remember how many versions. We wanted to just give up 49%, but we decided to give up 51% because we needed the money and it was the only way to grow. So we got $2.1 million offer for that. Our liaison goes in for a minor surgery. We were going to sign the deal when he came back out of recovery. Unfortunately, he never came out of recovery, and we didn't know this for a month later. And so that deal was done, and now walking through another sliding door. So I realized I needed to get back to my happy place, and that GIF is a little bit wrong because I can't paint. But the point being is I needed to feel creative again. It's the reason why we started Lucky, to be creative. Where in other agencies, you had points of feeling creative, and we wanted to own that. And so anyway, I was looking for something, and this all happened in the fall of that year, and in 2 weeks will be Art Basel. And so at that time, I went to Art Basel in Miami. And again, I never considered myself an artist. Did we just lose? Never considered myself an artist. I can't draw, can't paint. Yes, I was an art director. I have a good eye. I can design a little bit, but I'm not an artist. But I was really inspired being there. By the way, most artists hate Art Basel because of the commercial aspect. But I think coming from advertising, I wasn't scared of it. It actually excited me. It's like, you can make something, you can say whatever you want, and people buy it. That was really interesting to me. So I decided to make my first art piece. I was obsessively going to concerts for many years. It was sort of my drug. I would go probably 40 to 60 concerts a year, most of the time by myself. And I realized that I was going to these concerts, the way I was experiencing it was as if I was on stage performing. And I was like, holy shit, that was like, it's a total lie. You know, I'm tone deaf. I can't play an instrument, but I'm going to these concerts as if I was a rock star. And these concert tickets were proof of my dream. So enter my first piece. So this is a 6 foot high. I think it has maybe 400 or 500 concert tickets from my collection. I cut the letters, the text out of the canvas. They kind of symbolize the hope and hopelessness of our dreams, of an unfulfilled dream. And it's also a confessional. It's sort of like I'm telling on myself, oh, I want to be a rock star. Because if without telling myself, if I wanted to be a rock star, I would be taking music lessons and voice lessons and doing all these other things. But the dream was living in here. And so getting it out in the world makes it real. If I never said I wanted to be an artist out loud, this presentation wouldn't exist right now. So that's basically a core of my work. And then I got really lucky, I guess. Someone saw it at a friend's place, went into a quick exhibition, and it sold. Doesn't usually happen like that. So it got me thinking, and so I So I left Lucky a few months later. My partner moved to Minneapolis, and then I took a year off from advertising, not freelancing. Went through all my savings to begin my journey as an artist. And the reason why I did this is, I don't know if you are like me, but if advertising, freelance always got in the way to a certain extent. I focused on those. That took precedence. And I knew if I didn't have them in the space, art would be more than a hobby. I would come back to advertising, but I needed that break. So I then went ahead and over the last 5 or 6 years, I made 50 of these pieces. And again, they're all the same size, 6 foot by 4 foot. I'm just gonna show you a few. This one, I was a dork in high school. This is a mix of my high school yearbook photos mixed with a yearbook from the 1920s, every decade to 1990. And like this piece, after doing it, I got really clear that whether you were the prom king or a nerd or whatnot, when we were back in high school, we all wanted to be popular. So again, these pieces can be cathartic. This one uses 13,000 fortune cookie fortunes. The fortune cookie company would not sell me the individual fortunes. So I had 20 big boxes coming to my New York City upsized apartment. My fingers were bleeding by the end opening those. But I didn't eat one until I finished. This is my movie collection tickets. This is obviously candy wrappers. Then I started getting into more material-based things. Those are Livestrong Bands. I made this before Lance Armstrong came out as a steroid user, so it has a double meaning. The original meaning, of course, that believing of overcoming cancer, and now, you know, what it is. With that being said, the Livestrong Foundation bought this piece, and it's in their permanent collection. So this one's with feathers, Boy Scout patches. This one, Barbie Dolls. This is a heavy, massive piece. And this just shows you a little bit about the process. I found they did a mini documentary on me a couple years back, and basically the way I started this process, I always collaged the canvas first. I started by putting sign stencil, vinyl stencils on the front and cutting them out, and I found an easier process where I use plexiglass in the back, because when you cut into canvas, the canvas will normally, fold in, and I wanted to keep the structure. So, and then I hand cut everything afterwards. Here's some exhibition shots. New York, Taipei, Sydney. Okay, so I was called by a famous concept shop, actually one of the first in the world, called Colette. And if anyone in fashion probably knows them. Does anyone know Colette? Anyone? Okay, there's a few. They were like the tastemakers in fashion and art and design. And so when the owner reached out wanting to do a show, it was like my first oh, I'm actually doing it. I'm actually it's actually happening. And so worked really hard on this exhibition, and then 5 days before Paris had the terrorist attacks. And we were thinking about, well, I was thinking that we should cancel the opening. But the Parisians were like, no, we need to live life, we need to do it. And I was really hesitant, but I was so glad that I did it. My show, I Want to Dream, took on new meaning. This piece was a blackboard, and every day we wiped it down, and it was thoughts of love and people who were victims, people who they were thinking of. So again, it took on this whole new life. Oops. And then while I was there, I had an idea to add my voice to what was going on in Paris. So I created a new piece at the gallery, and it was an interesting experience to have, hundreds of people during the day watch you make a piece. I found these pre-World War II postcards, vintage postcards of Paris, and how everyone was worried about what was coming in terms of World War II. And so I used that as the collage piece, and then made this piece, I Want Peace. And it got a lot of nice press. And this was a claim to fame from that show, may he rest in peace, but Karl Lagerfeld. So I made 50 pieces of the collages, and I wanted to sort of push what I was, the story and what I was talking about. A lot of the collage pieces were very personal, but now I wanted to actually push the concept and talk about how the internet, how social, how tech is giving the previous silent masses the ability to start living out their desires, for better and for worse. These pieces are light boxes, and what I did is I digitally collaged HTML source code from different websites, and then sort of colorized it and pulled out different words. So this first one is source code from Instagram. This one is Breitbart News. And there was an AR component to it. So if you had an iPad and went up to it, this was all sort of famous greatest hits of fake news stories that were in conspiracy theories. There's Hillary's Pizzagate. This one is source code from OkCupid. And the AR component revealed real catfishers that were exposed. I Want to Be Anonymous. This is source code from Reddit. And so we're trying to have a little fun with the trolls. This one is from Grindr, which is kind of a fun one. Okay. Then for my mirrors that you may have not seen, this piece was a one-off piece. I made it to be part of an exhibition in 2017. It's a two-way mirror with a display and a computer running 25 lines of code. The top line is static. The bottom line rotates. It cycles through 500 to 1,000 phrases. So when a person takes a photo, their reflection is paired with a phrase. And sort of like this magic 8-ball effect where you don't know until you look at your photo album. what I thought was going to be a one-off piece, it's sort of something magic happened where thousands of people were posting, and it's sort of giving some depth to their selfies. So I decided to go with it and explore this. This is a show in Shanghai that I did. This mirror is called I See. I actually there's 10,000 people go to this opening. It was crazy. This is you can see it sort of moving in this slide, see how it works. So for example, if you guys took a photo right now on the screen, you should be able to grab a phrase. Everyone got it? Okay. It might be running a little slow, but it's the frame rate of the screen is tied to the shutter speed of your iPhones. Okay? So then I went on Instagram and I just started grabbing people's selfies and what they posted, and some of it is really beautiful and poignant, where I don't really see the mirror as my artwork anymore. I see these other people's photos as the artwork. The mirror becomes just a vessel. I love that one. Just because she posted it on social, it's like. Does anyone know her? Yeah. So this summer, I was offered an incredible opportunity to show at the Smithsonian. This is my space, 6,400 square feet of it. This was at the Scout visit, and I was like, holy shit, how am I going to pull this off? I didn't have a full team. There wasn't a ton of money. And so this is where, and I should give you a little context. It was part of this By the People festival. And the curator saw my mirror show, the first mirror, the I Want mirror, 2 years prior. And she's like, I've been wanting to work with you for so long. And she never introduced herself into this moment. So it was really a nice way to find out about the show. Her theme, and she worked with 20 artists. There was 4 artists in the Smithsonian and other places in DC. It was about giving marginalized people voice and opportunity to dream again. So I wanted to lean into the etherealness of the space. And so I brought in a lot of white, dressed it in white. And then I filled it with low fog. And I brought in about 3 mirrors, each with a different text. So it was I could be, I own, and find. And this is just a little video showing it. Okay, so now after the success I've had with the mirror, I've been finding that advertising and art are like hitting up against me all the time now. And it's kind of cool and it's kind of weird. And I was just on a call with an agency and the brand, and I was the artist that they were working with. And it's a cool feeling because I was on one other side of it. That picture is from Bloomingdale's. They bought a piece for their permanent collection, but I also do activations where I'm loaning. I did a big event for Daily Harvest, a big Pride event for NASDAQ, and Refinery 29 for 29 Rooms, which is this one. I collaborated with a poet who did the poetry on the side. And our room, does everyone know what 29 Rooms is? No? Okay, so 29 Rooms, just real quickly, is Refinery 29's big art activation thing. That's, for better or for worse, that started this like new trend, like Museum of Ice Cream, Museum of Pizza. It's gotten a little bit out of hand, but they did something special when they first started. And half the 29 rooms are brand sponsored rooms, and the other half are given to artists or nonprofit organizations. I was one of the artists, and I collaborated with this poet from Georgia, and our room was about body positivity. So the mirror, in this case, was very affirmational. And you saw many of the selfies from that show. Now the next slide is a little bit top secret, so I'll show it really quickly, but I have a big project with Pandora next, happening in early December, to launch their new platform, and I guess Halsey will be doing a private show there. So it'll be a really cool experience. Okay, I want to talk about my typeface because I learned all about type from this school. I basically got this typeface from the vinyl letters that I started using, and then cutting them down and then putting them in Illustrator and retracing them, so they have a little bit more of an organic feel. I also, all the kerning that I learned at the school, I threw that out the window because I'm doing these, especially for the mirrors, I'm doing these digital slick mirrors. I wanted the text to be organic and feel a little clunky, just to bring a little bit of the human element. I also bring this up, as you guys know, artists have signature styles. Warhol has his repeating, screen printing. Since I'm a text-based artist, my typeface is mine. And I've had brands ask me to put their logo in there. And I say, okay, but I will charge you for that, and I won't sign it, and you can't resell it. And that's 2 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been that confident, but I wanted to tell them how it is. If they want a signed piece, then it has to be my work. These are some famous text-based artists, and you can see their, like Barbara Kruger. You can see the Supreme logo that was stolen from her in the bottom left. So, pretty famous feminist artist. Jenny Holzer is another one who's known for her projections. So you can see her typeface. And this is Mel Bachner, conceptual artist from the 60s, doing really, really well now, famous for his blah, blah, blah works. Okay, and finally I want to show you another side hustle just so you can see what I'm doing. This is called Art Sparker. So when I got into art, I realized that art nonprofits who have creative opportunities are so antiquated. It's like Web 1.0. It's no fun to look, it's hard to find. And yes, you can find creative opportunities on Google, but it's hard because they're all over the place. So this idea was to kind of make the kayak of creative opportunities, and it's all disciplines, except maybe like the culinary arts, which we want to add, but it has from filmmaking to sculpture to performance art, grants, competitions, residencies, and locations around the world. So right now, again, this is like the kayak of creative opportunities, but we want to, my partners and I want to bring this to, the next stage would be the OkCupid of creative opportunities, where we're matching, but via logarithm, creative opportunities to you. So basically, if you are a sci-fi filmmaker, we'll match you to the Roswell Film Festival. We'll be on the top of your list. Right now, we have no revenue streams, but we do plan to be making money on this down the road. Okay, enough about me. So this is what I've learned, and sometimes definitely the hard way, so I'm gonna have a drink of water while you ponder that. How are we doing on time, by the way? Is that good? Okay. I'll try to go fast. So this is for all you visual artists. We'll go a little bit more wide and broader in just a sec, but when I got into the art world, I thought I would take my portfolio, march into a gallery, and get a gallery. Just like we do with agency jobs, right? You've got your portfolio, you send your site, you go interview, you get a job. That's not the way it works in the art world, unfortunately. You have to be discovered. They want to be the ones that discovers you. And so it's a weird way of it working. You have to put breadcrumbs all around. You need to find your community. So right now, you guys all have this great big community, and it's going to serve you well in the advertising world. For your side hustle, you need to do the same. You need to find your community. Other artists who can introduce you to other curators who can introduce you to other galleries. It's super important. And this you can rise together. I'm sure you've heard, and I'm slipping my mind right now, but George Lucas, Spielberg, and a few others were part of a directors group that all came out at the same time, I think from UCLA. So those things happen all the time. Pockets of people doing great stuff. And it's part of it is because everyone is helping each other out. This goes a little bit further in that, so once you have your community, also ask them for help. Everyone needs help. You need a curator to put you in shows, and the curator needs artists to have shows. Eventually you'll need a manager, and you need to build a team. My murals are 400 pounds. I need a coder, I need muscle to make those things happen. But a lot of people want to be part of it, even if they're not the artist per se. and they want to see you succeed. Also, it's good to have people to talk you up and deal with the money side of things. It's uncomfortable for the creative to be the one. Hence why film directors and celebrities will have agents and managers. Same in the art world. Get your work up on any wall you can. Now, it's happening all over, I'm sure in Richmond, but in New York, there's all these empty real estate storefronts and stuff like that. So there's pop-up galleries happening all the time. Use ArtSpark or use other sites to find open calls, apply to them, get seen. Also take good installation shots. I failed at that a few times, but it's important to get your portfolio, nice shots. Press has helped me a ton. It's not a mandatory, but it's helped me, people find me and get discovered. So I get calls and random emails all the time whenever a press article comes out. Actually, for the show that I'm doing in Richmond this weekend, curator from a gallery here saw an article in the Smithsonian, went to see it. Okay, this seems a little obvious, but when I was in ad school, I was really focused on Adweek, Ad Age, archive, creativity. And so when I got into art, I was still solely focused on those publications. But for your hustle, start immerse yourself into those worlds. And there might be like titles that you've never heard of. And that's good. I like to sign up for e-newsletters. I know it's a little bit old school, but I found that I would not check the sites regularly if I didn't get it, the weekly newsletter. Also follow on Instagram. If you want to be a visual artist, get this book. This is like the guide of the industry and how you do it. Get the latest edition. Okay, how to make advertising work for you and some tips I learned. First, the question. What do you guys think? Are agencies supportive of side hustles? Yes or no? Raise your hand if it's a yes. Okay, so it's about 35%, I'm guessing. So, yes-ish. So, being an artist, filmmaker, a stand-up comedian, a blogger, you're writing a book, they all love that in the hiring process. What makes you special. And it sounds like you guys are already kind of doing projects that help enhance your marketability, which is great. It definitely makes you more interesting, but agencies are running a business, and their business comes first, and that's the bottom line. So when you get into the agency, individuals might care about what you're up to, but in the big picture, nothing. Like your side hustle is way, way on the side. Can you miss a day for your exhibition? Perhaps. Maybe can come in late for a meeting with your collector, or maybe. But if you want to take a week-long artist residency, it's on your vacation time. If you want to do anything bigger than that, it's definitely on your time, and it should never ever get in the way of your work. But, and this is the ish, if your side hustle blows up, that's when the agency gets excited again, because then they can help leverage your pressable thing that they can put in the world. So it's mutually beneficial to them at that point, which is good. There shouldn't be a knock on them, because using their PR departments is a good thing. So this next slide is it's from an organization called MRVO Art, and I came across them recently. They reached out to me. They help agency creatives who are artists get their work shown. And so she had a big show at Sotheby's with you have to be in the agency world, and you have to be a visual artist. I saw this on LinkedIn 3 days ago, and she did an informal survey from her network. And these are the responses she got from the question, are agencies supportive of your art? So it painted a little bit of a less positive spin than I had, but I wanted to show that just so you can see the reality. Okay, find a job that works for you and not against your hustle. So not all agency jobs are equal. I'm sure you guys, people that are graduating, are starting to look at which shops they want to work at: small, medium, large, in-house, creative, one with lots of resources. Like, these are all questions you need to be asking if your side hustle is important to you. Maybe at this stage it's not, and maybe it's like, focus on advertising and do well in that. But eventually you're going to want to make choices that are going to work with your side hustle. What's the commute like? Are you wasting 2 hours commuting that you could be working on your side hustle? Can you leave early? Again, can you work off-site? How hard are they going to make me work? You know, like, I've worked at many of the agencies where it's weekend work all the time. Will I learn a lot? What if you have a tech startup idea that you want, and this particular digital agency is amazing? All of a sudden you have people that can help you help with your startup idea. I want to mention Google 2080 program. Have you guys heard of the Google 2080? So it was maybe 5 or 10 years ago, it was a big deal about how Google wants you to spend 20% of your work time on a side hustle, on a side project. But it's been debunked over the years by a lot of former employees, because it really should be 120%, because they really do not want you to take away from your Google work. And also that 20 project should be a Google project that they will own and operate. In theory, I like that. But anyway, I did land an amazing job for 2 years at a production company called Derby. My former employee at Lucky was executive producer at this production company, Derby, that lasted 2 years, from 2016 to 2018. I had to work 90 hours a month, and the rest of the time I could work on art. It was brilliant. I didn't have to chase up work or freelance. It was flexible. I could work from home it was brilliant, and I'm very grateful for that landing in my lap. It's not going to always happen that way, but again, meeting people in the industry and building trust, those things can happen. Don't forget to work on your portfolio. Don't let the side hustle get in the way of working on your portfolio while you're in there. Because again, that's going to be your currency and your value. So if you want to jump jobs, you want to take time off and then get back in the industry, your portfolio is what's going to help you. Because it's really hard to make work while you're freelancing. And you make good money freelancing, and then you get some time off, but the dirty little secret is, like, you probably make something every maybe 90 to 95% of the time you don't make anything. So I wanted to, this is like, again, a generic set of line, don't work harder, work better, and it's always sort of easier said than done. But I was the type of guy that working harder was like a badge, and I would stay up late, work all the time, and I still work really hard, but now I'll call it quits when I'm tired, and what I'll do is I'll get up early. It's just finding when I work the best, finding that zone. I'm not a morning person, but when I do get up at 6 in the morning and I have that quiet time and my brain is not fully thinking about the day, I actually have come up with more concepts than I have for the rest of the day. So you need to like really work your zone. And I know when you have a full-time job and you're tied to your desk, there's some situations you have to figure out, but the better you can work, more streamlined you can work, the faster you can get out the door and work on your side hustle. One amazing tip that I will share with you, and I suggest all of you guys do it, at least the creative teams, make 5 Google Docs. These are going to be historical Google Docs. And maybe it's not 5, but hear me out. Your first Google Doc is going to say taglines. After every project, every brief, you're going to take your tagline brain dump and you're going to put it in that Google Doc. That Google Doc is going to grow and grow and grow. Yes, there are taglines out there that are really amazing and unique to a brand, but for the most part, you can recycle taglines over and over again, save some of your brain, and have access to it. Do that for manifestos. Manifesto-y language can be, you can pull paragraphs from here and there and make it something new. It doesn't necessarily work as well with TV scripts, but while you're at it, do TV scripts. Do activation ideas. Just put them in their separate Google Doc. Do one for visual references. So along the way, you're going to collect TV spots or some sort of graphic treatment, organize them, and put it in a Google Doc. Because there's so many times I've referenced over and over again the same stuff, and finding it just takes time. Find creative partners that you can trust, but also easy to work with, who gets you, who also embraces your side hustle because they have a side hustle. My creative partners now both have side hustles. And so we get that we need to work efficiently and make things happen and still do good work. Don't waste time at work. Give up social media at work. Give up boozy lunches at work. Give up excessive socializing and ping pong at work so you can get done and leave. So this can be both financially scary and emotionally scary, but every full-time job I've taken, or I've left, I've taken at least a month off before getting a new job. I'm a rarity in that world. I don't think a lot of people do that. And I know agencies more and more, when they want, once you're hired, they want you in there right away. So if you can do that, I highly, highly recommend it. It's a great time to recharge, great time to work on your hustle. And yeah, the one nod to that is don't procrastinate. If you got a month between jobs, don't sit on the couch. But you could travel. I know this is, again, an obvious one, but working overseas for me, life changing. And you don't necessarily have to do it my path right out of school. And with London, with Brexit, it's much, much harder. So, but if you get enough clout in the industry, there's branches all over the place, you can do it. And I highly recommend it. It's seriously opened my eyes in so many ways. And if you can't do that, travel exotically, give up the Club Med beaches and go somewhere crazy and third world and different. Okay, so when you have time in between gigs, whether it's freelance or full-time, go to an art residency. And it doesn't have to be for visual arts, it could be for writing, it could be a tech incubator, but I highly recommend doing it. It creates a structure and you can immerse yourself in your hustle. Or create your own. Get a $1 house in Sicily and set up shop there for a month and focus. Just get away from your day-to-day. But work every day, even if it's just a little on your side hustle. It could be sending an email, it could be reading a blog, it could be having a conversation with a curator. I work definitely 7 days a week. I know that doesn't sound cool, but if you have a side hustle that you love, it's worth it. To do so, you need to design and develop your personal system, whatever that is. You know, is it getting up early? I now have an art studio in my apartment, and that's changed radically and made my system so much better. Do you take breaks between every freelance gig? Do you block your social and web on your computers? This is something I do. I name things because when you give something a name, you put it into existence. You give it power, even if the name changes. So Art Sparker, if it didn't have a name and we were writing business plans and it was called Project Art or something lame like that, it wouldn't have taken on a life of its own and gotten power. So do that. You don't have to do it, but it helps. Get this book, and it's not just for creatives, it's for anyone. Everyone is creative. It's a screenwriter who wrote it. It's an amazing thing to do when you're feeling burnt out. You have a new chapter of your life coming up. You should do it in a group. I think you can do it up to 12 people. But it really helps you find what's next. Art Sparker was born out of this, doing this exercise. One of the most important things from the book is called morning pages. Morning pages is basically every morning I do one 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and I do free form writing front and back. The trick is your pencil or pen can't leave the paper, and it always has to be moving. So if you don't know what to say, you write, I don't know what to say. I'm dumb, I'm stupid, da, 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 da. And you get a lot of shit out of your head, doubt, things you're feeling and dealing with, and then something magical starts to happen with these pages. You start seeing new worlds, new ideas. I've even used it inside of advertising when I'm stuck on a creative brief that's hard. I'll just start writing and see where my mind would go. And it works. It's really the most powerful thing out of that book and part of my practice. Don't forget your body, which is an obvious one that I always forget at times. It's like, if you get sleep and if you work out, your brain is so much sharper, so that means you can do things faster, which means you can knock off your advertising work faster so you have more time for your hustle. And do it for your mind. I spent 10 years finding my meditation practice. I dabbled in it a lot and nothing really worked for me. I finally found one that was my flavor called Transcendental Meditation, which David Lynch has made popular. But there's tons of apps out there like Headspace, and I know Deepak and Oprah have one together, but I would just try a bunch and see what you like. I try to do it once a day, and if I'm lucky, I'm one in the afternoon. David Lynch does it twice a day, even when he's on set shooting films, and he'll stop and then stop rolling to do it. So it's really important. And you feel like you have a nice natural high afterwards versus a coffee one. Okay, find out who you are. This one I like, you guys may not care for it, but it's really important to find out your strengths and weaknesses, who you jive with personality-wise. I'm into it, you guys may not be. This is a cool one that Adobe just launched this summer. It's cool. I'm the dreamer. But you can figure out who you work well with. I would do Myers-Briggs, I would do Enneagram. I would, at a certain point in your life, get a business coach and a life coach. We had a business coach for Lucky to help us through the rough periods. Take courses in your hustle field, or just even self-development courses. I'm a big believer in all those. Learn how to market yourself. So this is a really hard one for me, guys. I don't think I have the full answer for this, but I wanted to put it out there. You know, it's easy for us to market a product, but it's hard when it gets personal. So it's interesting. I can understand why brands for so many years hired agencies, because they were too close to their product. Now I know that's changing in a lot of in-house agencies. But you got to learn how to market yourself. You know, a lot of art sales for me are happening on Instagram, but I do a terrible job on Instagram and not fully promoting and committing to what I'm supposed to post. So I'm putting it out there just as a work in progress and something that we should think about when it comes to if your side hustle is you. Say yes most of the time, but occasionally say no. And in the beginning of my art career, I said yes to everything because I was just excited to be in the art world after being in advertising. So I said yes to all sorts of exhibitions and projects. But now, sort of with more confidence, I can say no to things that don't represent me and my art well. I was invited to do a big exhibition in an Ontario museum in January, and just this week they told me they would love to put my mirror at a spin-off location in a shopping mall, and I ended up declining and pushing back, and I haven't heard in 4 days from them, so I'm putting it out to the universe that she's trying to work getting it back in the museum. But if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's okay. And when someone tells you no, don't be afraid of it. I don't know if you guys were like me, but when I was younger, no was it sucked to hear no. It was a dirty word, and made it mean I wasn't worthy, I didn't belong. But now I'm kind of really comfy with it. It's sort of lost its power. You have to have your hand in many, many cookie jars just to get one. I get 10 brand activation calls to do my mirrors, let's say in a year, and 3 will happen, which is really good. Or maybe I sell 10 inquiries, I sell to 1 collector. It just happens. basically, point is, don't fear the no. Get over beliefs and hang-ups. I think this is really important. We all have them. We can't shake them. We had it coming into the school, and we've changed going out of the school. But when you go into any new hustle, when we're the outsider, those hang-ups will keep us from actually getting into it. And so, for example, one of my hang-ups going into the art world was the rich 1%. They buy 99% of the art world. They were intimidating. I was timid. I was like, oh, they don't know me. They don't get my art. And they're the only ones who buy. And so I had this real challenge. Like, they wanted to meet with me, speak with me, and it was awkward at first. But now I'm really comfortable with it, and they're human beings just like us, just with much fatter wallets. But they're supporting the arts. And so even if our views are a little bit different, we can find middle ground in the art and what it means to them. So this is a big one that you're gonna, with your hustle, you're gonna always, every success, you're gonna then think, do you still belong? And you're gonna have to renew that belief. So I got the Smithsonian show, and that's like, I was like, wow, I belong. And now I'm like drifting down. I'm like, do I belong? Do I? And so it's something that's not going away, but you gotta consistently renew that. And again, there's gonna be days that you're like, why am I doing this? My advertising friends have houses and second houses, and I'm putting my money into art and a startup. So side hustles, they're definitely more rewarding, but they're also much difficult, and you do have to make sacrifices. Be brave and don't play it safe. So oh, her head got cut off. So my point being here, let's say advertising, and I know it's not, you haven't gotten jobs yet, is the safe path. Use that as the safe path. That's your cushion. But make sure your side hustle is the risk. If it's safe and easy, then it might be just a hobby. But if you really want to make your hustle explode, take some risks. This is an obvious one, but your criticism and cynicism will kill creativity, and it will prevent you from actually succeeding with your hustles. You also, don't be a hater to yourself. You know, if you mess up on an art piece or your hustle doesn't go the way it wants to, you need to love all your children. Also, on the flip side of it, be nice to everyone else. You know, we work in tough industries, and there's still a lot of moody, mean people in our industries, but we should be nicer, especially in our current climate, to each other. And also, it's very important to realize that all these people can help you in future. My Pandora project has happened from a friend that I haven't seen in 20 years ago, you know, and we haven't been in contact. So be nice. So we're towards the end now, and I'm just flipping it back at you guys. You know, I just want you, hustles are definitely can be more rewarding than anything you'll do in your life, but it is the most difficult road. So I want to ask you guys, what do you guys want? Or ask yourselves what you want, and continually ask that. And then you should put that into the world. And this is a quote that I used for my I Want a Dream show from Yoko Ono. So if you have a dream, tell the people in your lives, put it out in the world to your community, and then it starts to develop, and all of a sudden it happens. Don't keep it locked away in your head. Okay, thank you.